record automatically.
Track and field fans, welcome to the Day 4 Instant Reaction Show. Supporters Club members, most of you are listening via podcast on Tuesday morning, and we have a very special guest today. One of your own, folks.
That's right.
This guy in the middle, well, you probably can't see him if you're in a car driving. Don't try to look at your phone. It's not a video show. Ross McGowan, Supporters Club member. Folks, he's also a friend of mine, longtime friend. I have more than one friend. This is not the former Hillary Clinton speechwriter. I have at least two friends.
I also am not Craig Ingles' high school coach.
Oh, that's true. This is not the source that's never wrong. But you may be asking, how is he qualified to be on here? Division I runner? True or false?
True. They gave me a letter. That's about it.
No. I was actually thinking about this. By D1 standards, Jonathan Galt was a better runner than you.
100%.
Regional qualifier, you were not. But
Not even close.
at the world level, you are better than Jonathan Galt. Have you thought about this? Your PB.
I own the women's world record. I don't know if Jonathan
Yes,
does.
Jonathan Galt's PBRs are nowhere close to the women's world record.
My PB was close. My 10,000 PB was close to the women's world record before Almaz Ayana destroyed it. But I guess it was 12 seconds. Do you consider that close?
I'm just saying. He's run 152.97. No woman has done that. Jonathan Galt, you have
No,
not.
I can't say that I have.
But this may be our last podcast. We've had another white Ivy League graduate onto the show. Lack of diversity is stunning, but a lot to talk about. Just came back from the track. I've got to head to the airport, get home a day early. My wife is sick. Weldon's child is sick. It's going to be Jonathan Galt all alone tomorrow in Oregon.
It's tragic that you and Weldon are going to miss maybe the greatest night of the entire meet. The men's 1500 final and the men's 400 meter hurdle final. I'll be the only representative from Let'sRun.com. I guess it's all down to me.
We'll do our best. We'll do our best. But tonight was pretty cool. Women's 1500 final just finished. Guess what happened? Probably exactly what you thought for first and second. Faith Kipyegon won. Gudov Sagai second. Crazy race. They did not go out in 55, but they went out super fast. Warmer takes third. She medals. The woman that can never medal is now like Paula Radcliffe. She's now medaling and doing well all the time. Right before that, the slowest men's steeplechase in history. Matthew Centrowitz probably enjoyed that one to a big degree. But when it was all said and done, it was the same three that you and I picked, John. Soufiane, Bakkali.
No. That I picked too.
Oh, see.
I picked Concessos Kipruto to win. And honestly, when I saw those 10 guys together at the bell, I thought he was going to win because this guy, the greatest kick in steeple history, maybe him and Ezekiel Kemboy. But no, it was Soufiane Bakkali who took it. There was also a cameraman on the track for the first lap. I've never seen that in a World Championship final before. Very strange stuff. And this morning, Robert, out on the banks of the Willamette River, we had the women's marathon. Goditam Ghebreselassie of Ethiopia took the gold there, smashed Paula Radcliffe's championship record, running 2:18. Americans go 5:78, led by Sarah Hall. Did you get to see the marathon as well, Ross, today?
Watched it on TV, not in person.
Yeah, it was good. The Americans were very happy. They were pumping up the crowd. Sarah Hall reminded me of Ryan Hall actually at the 2008 Olympic marathon trials. She was, getting the crowd excited. So that was a fun atmosphere.
Well, I'm glad John had some fun there. We got there. The runners were running right by us when we parked the car, and I was not in the press box. I said, let's go, Sarah. Run them down one at a time. And John, Mr. Professional Journalist, said, Robert, please, no cheering. I said, John, it doesn't make me not an American. But John, you're outnumbered tonight.
I didn't hear you cheering for Galen Rupp when he ran by on Sunday.
Fair enough. You're outnumbered, though. You have only one trained professional journalist, two people that slept at a Motel 6 last night. Holiday Inn or whatever.
In a
it's called.
smoking room.
Holiday Inn
In a
Express, I
smoking room.
thought. That's what's supposed to make you smart.
So...
We're not smart for having stayed at Motel 6.
Well, I want to say thank you for I hope my wife gets better soon. Yeah, I do too.
Best wishes to Emily.
Weldon's child's actually more sick. She's in the hospital, but she's expected to be out tomorrow, so
Jesus.
everything's good. Let's start with when we've had a request from someone on YouTube that we start going chronological order but go backwards. So that's good. Women's 1500. We didn't watch this. Well, we watched it, I guess, live on television, but we're in the
We did watch it, just for the record.
Yes.
We watched the race.
But we're down in the basement because the steeple had just gone off trying to get some interviews. And, within 300 meters, this field is broken. We've never seen this. TV history was made tonight. They had a chase pack graphic in a 1,500 meter race on the track because you needed it. I mean, we're down there, and I'm sitting there with like Kyle Merber, former 1,500 meter runner. And we see 43 for the first 1,500. He's like, they're
First
going
300.
for the first 300.
Yeah.
He's like, they're going for the standard because that would pretty much be the men's 1,500 meter standard pace, right? 57.
3:35. Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty close. So it's 50. It says 43, and then they get to 400, and it says 55, and we're all like, what? They ran a 12. That doesn't make any sense. So the actual split was about
58.82 officially. They have corrected it on the website. And what
We're not going to blame.
The way I understand what happened, I was talking to Carl Dennehy of the great Irish journalist, is that some of the heptathletes, I believe, were doing their victory lap, and they passed the sensor, and that's what was picked up. Because if you saw it on the screen, 55 popped up before they'd even hit 400 meters, so you knew something was off. So yeah, still very, very fast for a women's 1,500, and even the chase pack, as it were, they came through in 61, which 4:04 mile pace. I mean, that's incredibly fast for a women's 1,500 as well. So everyone was even the ones who played it safe were getting after it. Last place, Sofia Enui of Poland at 400, 62.36. That's pretty wild.
So that was, it was pretty interesting, Ross, because you were saying in the stands that you see the super fast start and you're thinking, wow, we're going to have a random medalist because these people a couple of them are going to blow up. But your good friend James O'Toole, former 1,500 meter star at Princeton, he's like, but everybody else is out over their skis as well. So that's the problem. They go out too hard, and plus the gap was so big, they're going to have to fight a little bit of wind on their own. And the person sort of leading the chase pack was Corey McGee of the U.S. And she said afterwards, she's like, it's not really where I wanted to be, and she's like, I was aware of the fact that, like, okay, this may hurt me, but she's like, I didn't want to run for fifth. So kudos to her. She's like, I feel like if I stayed in that pack, I might have done a little bit better. She ended up 10th. She was really sort of hoping to finish in that 4th, 5th, or 6th range. But I said, well, do you regret it? She says, no, I feel like I'm always of the belief that if you do something like this, eventually it'll pay off. So I kind of thought that was interesting talking to her about that. So I guess she did a lot of the work. I couldn't really see that because they were doing a lot of tight shots on the leaders.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's be honest, this was pretty predictable how this played out up front. Gudov's a guy only knows one way to run, and that's going out really hard, trying to hold on. But she never succeeds in breaking Faith Kipyegon because Faith Kipyegon can run 3:52. She's the greatest miler of all time. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess if you're Gudov's a guy and you want to maximize your chances of a medal, this was her best shot. She got the silver. She ran 3:54. She knows there's probably, well, tonight there was only one other woman who could run 3:54. But at most, there was going to be, if you run 3:54 in the World Championship final, you're medaling almost all the time, unless you name Shelby Houlihan in 2019. But, yeah, Kipyegon's better. You can't really beat a 3:52 guy. I mean, was there any way Kipyegon was losing this race?
That's what I thought when they took it out hard. I was like, well, is this smart or whatever? But I was like, what's the plan against Kipyegon? There isn't one.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, clearly the greatest women's miler ever, right? But at what level does she become the greatest miler? I mean, I know she could never beat a man in a man's race, but in terms of the total accolades, yes.
Well, El Garouge won, 3 world titles and the Olympic title, and she's got 2 Olympic titles and 2 world titles.
He got a 5K.
And he's also got world records in the mile and 1,500 that haven't been touched. And, there are a lot of women ahead of Kipyegon. Well,
and there
aren't a lot of women ahead of her, but the ones ahead of her, a number of them do have question marks about those times.
Well, some might say something about Mr. Hisham.
She said, though, I talked to her after the first round of the 1,500. It's like, would you go for the world record this year? She's like, yeah, after the meet, she wants to improve her personal best. And her personal best is exactly 1 second off the world record. So I think we could see this year, and perhaps next year, world record attempts.
It's weird. I guess she had the pregnancy to leave, but that's all that's missing. So let's go for it. Set it up.
Monaco, it's in August. Haven't happened yet. Here's the chance.
And I think, one thing I often think, and it's easier when you're not here, but What did you learn from being at the meet versus covering at home? Sinclair Johnson finishes 6th, top American for her first Worlds. And her comments after the race were kind of interesting. She was saying, like, I'm not really happy with that, but I guess that's pretty good. It's my first Worlds, and I'm not happy with 6th. But she's in the Monaco Diamond League. She's very excited about that. And Corey McGee also is excited about the rest of the season. She wants to really break 4. So, it's a pretty early Worlds, July 18th. So, the nice thing is they can take a little bit of a break here because everybody else is going to go to European Commonwealths. They might be a little bit tired. The Americans, if they can stay, if they're motivated to keep training and excited, I think they can really do a lot of, good things. I think some of this is sort of a psychological thing.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask, were you guys surprised at all that only 3 women in this race broke 4 minutes? Because I'm pretty sure there's more than 3 women who are in sub 4 shape, but is it just the chase pack went out too hard? They were about 207, 208 at 800 meters.
I was surprised when I saw the times. But again, the way the race played out is like those women were all going out way faster than they normally do.
Mm-hmm.
Like
plus, also, I think they're used to getting dragged to the whole to the fast time.
Yeah.
And here they're having to do the work. So a lot of those women are sort of 358, 359 on a good day when they're getting pulled to it. Can they push themselves to that going out too fast?
But this was almost identical to what we had at the pre-classic. It's just that Muir was up there, but you had Kipyegon and Sagai clear of the field. In the pre-classic, we had a bunch of women break 4 minutes in that race. And I guess maybe they probably went out a little slower, the chase pack for 800. But
did they talk about whether it was windy on the track? Because it was definitely breezier in the stadium than it's been the last couple of days.
Yeah, I didn't ask them about that. I'm surprised. Robert, did you? Normally you're the weather, zealot, and you're always asking about it.
A softball.
But I did actually notice for the first time this week that there was some wind today. So I was curious about that.
I'll have to go back to dark sky after the fact. Yeah, I mean, I noticed the wind, but I didn't hear anyone say anything about it, but I didn't ask too many questions. The one, I guess, surprise was, Corey's like, I expected some of them to come back, hoping someone would come back and I could focus on them. Or, Sinclair said, but nobody came back. I said, well, one person did come back. She's like, yeah, one girl did. I forgot about that. Here at Mishesha, the 21-year-old, she'd run 3:57.
She won 2 Diamond Leagues. She was the surprise of this race to me. I don't
She
know.
blew up.
She was 12th place, 405, not competitive. That shocked me. And I think we need to give credit to Laura Muir because last year she gets the silver, finally gets the monkey off her back and gets that medal in the global championship. But this year she starts kind of slow. She had a back injury. She wasn't running that well in Diamond Leagues, well off the pace. I think it was the pre-classic, right? She got beaten pretty badly. And I was like, this might not be the same Laura Muir. She's just having an Olympic hangover. Did she miss too much training over the winter? No, she got herself back in the 355 shape, and she was running for the win. She couldn't run 352. She's probably never going to run 352. But I was impressed that she showed her quality and resilience this year to battle back and run 355 in the World's final again. I was very impressed by her.
Yeah, and I think I kind of thought she was in trouble because it was an early Worlds. To do that quickly. But it would have been amazing if she had broken the world record in this race and beaten Centro's time from Rio. People were, then we could have a match race, Centro versus Kipyegon. I'm still, by the way,
straight out of the hospital bed.
By the way, folks, if you're just joining us, you haven't been to the homepage, you got to go to the homepage every day, click on the ads, give us some money. But I've written the analysis. Devin Allen, the big controversy from last night, the stats are out. It's pretty obvious that there's something amiss with these timing reaction times. This is the fastest timing reaction times in 13 Worlds. Like, it's 99.9% that something's up. So it seems very weird. He's being screwed. I've been texting Paul Doyle, the agent. I would like to see. John thinks there's
When
no.
are we going to give up this bullshit, Robert? What is a match race or whatever this thing that you're proposing going to accomplish? It's not going to give out any sort of medals. No, it's not going to be on TV. There's no prize money. Grant Holloway's not going to run it. I know that he said he would, but
Calm down.
I don't think he will.
Why are you freaking out? What problem does this race solve, Robert?
John, just because you don't have a whole lot of hair, you shouldn't be the old angry white man. You're still pretty young.
That's just an unnecessary pot shot right there.
You're getting angry. We got to ask the fan here. We have someone who actually paid for tickets.
Yeah. Let's ask the fan who paid to be here.
Would you like to see Devin Allen race? Would you like him to race if they said he's going to run at Hayward Field on tomorrow at 1 p.m.?
Okay,
would
of
you
course
go
he
watch
would.
it?
Of course he
Don't
would.
answer his
So
questions.
This is when dreams become reality. I've always wanted to sit between you two and settle disputes.
And but now we're gonna have Jakob Ingebrigtsen right here, just so hopefully you're
That's
on my
right.
side.
We need to ask people to pay for the honor of this, Robert.
So, like, okay, let's be clear. I really don't think Grant Holloway will agree to do this.
Yeah.
However, you're like, oh, whatever with this. Like, you wouldn't watch? Like,
Of course I would watch.
They
but
did the Michael Johnson, Donovan Bailey, which was a national disgrace for us Americans. This is one of the saddest days of my childhood. But, you know, it was entertaining. But would it settle anything? Of course not. Of course not. So.
Yeah, Robert's just saying, like, if World Athletics, you wrote a great article, actually, about the starting
I was shocked, John.
reaction
Thank you.
times in Eugene this week compared to previous championships. But then, like, the subhead was, like, World Athletics needs to step in and stage this race to settle things once and for all. I'm like...
I didn't say settle it for once at all.
Okay, but you said it's a disgrace if they don't step in and make this race happen. I'm just like...
I have a background in PR, and I feel like you said, why would Grant Holloway do it? He has everything to gain and nothing to lose. His stature goes up. He's already got the world title. If Devin Allen beats him...
What do you mean everything to gain? If he gets beat, his reputation's like, oh, this was the true world champion.
No, he can just say, I was a little bit down. His stature goes up. His name goes
His
up.
good guy points would
His
be
good-
gained.
Yeah,
People would be
no.
like, hey, that's a stand-up thing for him to do.
Yeah, I'd like to see it, but I just don't...
What I want to know is...
It's like it's not like Tomo Felix, which
what
we
are-
needed to see and were robbed of in 2012.
Has anything been done? You, John, are sort of more than official protocols. You email people for statements. It's pretty clear that the reaction times have suddenly improved by a lot. So we're going to have more false starts. Are they going to throw people out, or are they aware? Have they acknowledged that these timing blocks are different than the timing blocks from last year? They're all recording faster times, so maybe we should move this 0.10 up to like 0.1 to 0.07 or something like that.
I don't see anything changing. And Nick Siccardi from NBC Sports had a statement from World Athletics about this, and he said that it's the same blocks I think that they've been using for the last 3 World Championships. So I don't know if it certainly seems different. Noah Lyles said in the mix zone that it was different, and well, he was talking about more the blocks specifically. I don't know about, but yeah, I don't see anything changing. I don't see them saying like, oh, we're now going to raise the threshold to like 0.15 or something like that.
All right, let's move on to the 5,000 zoom. Any other results here in this thing that cut? Oh, by the way, the Aussies, Jessica holds 7th. It was important that Sinclair beat her from Jonathan Galt's perspective.
We'll leave it at that.
If you want the scoop on that, join the Super Supporters Club, and it's only $300 a year. That's a joke, people. John had a small bet on that head-to-head matchup. Georgie Griffith, who was sort of controversially selected to the team over my girl Abby Caldwell, did make the final 9th. I still think it's not right that she was on the team. I didn't really ask. I mean, I doubt she would have asked it. They wouldn't answer the questions early on. So, but Faith
Onto the
Kipyegon,
steeple?
yeah.
I mean, Faith Kipyegon, look, she was already the GOAT. She's just running up the score at this point. So, on to the men's steeplechase final. What a strange race this one was. I mean, it started. First of all, Robert was panicking from the stands. You guys, you didn't see at the start of every steeplechase, they run the first, part of it uninterrupted, so runners can sort of find themselves and not have to go straight into a barrier. And normally they move the barrier onto the track around the first turn or at the end of the first turn. And Robert,
It was nowhere. We couldn't see it. We couldn't see it. We were like we were on the second level, 50-meter mark. So we had a pretty clear view down the straightaway. We couldn't see it. It turned out what we should have panicked about was the placement of the cameraman.
This is the funny thing. Like, I was like, oh, you guys were so on top of this. Like, this isn't something I would normally pick up on. It was something I'd just be, like, noticing after the fact. So it then surprised me that when the race starts and there is a cameraman in lane 1 and the athletes have to dodge him like they're running through the fields at the start of the NCAA cross-country championships, Evan Jaeger is out in, like, lane 3 going wide around him. He was not happy about this after the race. He called it JV, which it absolutely was. But you guys didn't notice that when it was happening.
We didn't notice. The high jump was right in front of us. Our hypothesis is that it was during a big high jump. Like Tamberry was like going there.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. Nothing usually happens in the early race laps of distance races, but sometimes we get chaos. 2017 World Championships. Don't we remember that? Beatrice Chepkoech forgot to run the first water jump. So sometimes the first
That
lap of
was
the steeplechase World Championship final, crazy stuff happens apparently.
Yeah, I didn't trust them. I didn't know they had the steeple thing on wheels. That's why it came out from basically the 100-meter start. They wheeled it up. I don't trust these people totally after this reaction time thing. So we'll see what that. If you're just joining us, this guy in the middle, Ross McGowan, former Cornell runner. He is, unlike Jonathan and I, he is faster than the women's world record holder. In his event, he's a former 800.
That's right. You're not either.
Former 800-meter guy. So supporters club member. If you're enjoying the show and you want to get it, you don't have to be up at 2 a.m. or 12:48 a.m. East Coast. Join this Let'sRun.com supporters club. Let'sRun.com/subscribe today. Jakob Ingebrigtsen likes the show. He thinks that I think different, folks. You need to be challenged. It's important. Ross he's always keeping me. He's challenging.
He shouldn't have. We have to issue a correction from yesterday's podcast. I said that Jakob described Robert's takes as crazy. He actually just said different. Robert is now spinning this into a Steve Jobs comparison because he's saying, "Oh, think different." So, unfortunately, Robert has found a way to spin this to stroke his ego even more, even though Jakob said
Oh
he
my
agreed
God.
with me and not you.
I'm pretty upset now because if he wins tomorrow, I could probably butter him up and say, "Hey, what do you think?" Well, but now he can praise you, but I won't be there to counteract you. Anyways,
Violence taking shots at me.
I think that's meant. Well, that might be meant in a nice way. Looks like a professor.
Wait, Weldon's in there? What?
Weldon's watching the
Said I
show.
look like a professor. Yeah, I got a lot of white hairs, Weldon.
All right,
So
steeplechase.
We got to actually break down the race.
the steeplechase was crazy fast, and before the race, Ross and
crazy fast, crazy slow.
crazy race, I said.
Oh, crazy race.
So we're sitting in the stands, and there was actually a famous Cornell story when I was coaching, and the first year or two, the sprinters would go down to Sea Ray Relays down in Tennessee, and I didn't go. It was mainly a sprint trip, but we decided to send one steeplechaser down there, and Emery Mort, we love you, by the way. He goes to the race, and he was trying to qualify for regionals or something like that. And, I figured out what the splits would be in the steeple because it's not quite the exact normal splits. And I sent him to the head coach, and he's like, "All right, son, I need you to run these splits." And Emery is focused. You told him to do something, he did it. And he ran those splits lap after lap for 4 or 5. But the problem was I didn't know that the Tennessee track was an outside water jump and not an inside water jump. So he hit the wall. People were like, it was legendary. Like last 200 took like over a minute. But
why are we talking about this?
we're talking about this because this race goes off, and right before it starts, I said, "Ross, let's figure out what's 8-minute pace." It's basically 64s. The first couple laps in here were over 70 seconds. They were basically running kind of 8:45, 8, 50 type pace. And I mean, what were the K splits? You got that on there?
Yeah, it was incredibly slow. 2:58. It would not be out of place to see that in a women's race. Like Nora Gerudo might go out that fast in the women's final tomorrow. So 2:58 for the first K. I'm like, all right, Lemaitre Gum is gonna go to the front and pick this up, and he did go to the front after 1K, but he didn't really pick it up that much because it was 5:52 at 2K, so that's what, 2:55? So then I'm like, this is just going to be an insane, crazy kick. And that's basically what it was over the last lap. I think there were about 10 guys within a second of the lead. I think Evan Jago was 10th. He was 10th at the bell. So I'm like, well, he's in trouble. He's not much of a kicker anyway. But for a moment, you had Yaman Haile Selassie of Eritrea. He was leading at the start, but then it really got going on the back straight. At 300 meters to go. That's when sort of Kiprudo gets after it. But in the end, it turned into no contest because Soufiane Bakkali was way better than everyone. Coming off that, he had a great final water jump where he got the lead. And from there, he just blew everyone out the last 150. And it was kind of the 1, 2, 3 that a lot of people, not me, but a lot of people predicted. Bakkali, the Olympic champion, wins it. Goma, Ethiopia, he's second for the 3rd straight global championships after 2019 Worlds and 2021 Olympics. And then Conseslus Kiprudo, the reigning world champion, gets up for the bronze. So
and then getting at Wally, doesn't he always get 4th?
He always gets 4th, and he got 4th again. So the Ethiopians, basically the world championship and Olympic steeplechase finals, we're locked in with Goma 2nd, Wale 4th, and Bakkali's won the last 2. But we have a pretty consistent pecking order here. I'm interested to see if it changes next year with Kipruto and Jager maybe getting another year under their belts. But, it made sense. It was just, I don't know. I guess, do you guys have any takeaways? And first of all, are you shocked that Goma didn't try to push the pace like he has all year?
I was surprised, but again, I don't know. Like, it was kind of windy, but it was. What was kind of shocking was that, frankly, like, El Bakkali put that much space on them in about 250 meters. Because it wasn't even like he just like took off with the lap to go. Like, he took off late. Like, from now we were at the opposite side of the stadium, but like my memory of the vantage point was all of a sudden he's just like soaring over the water jump. It was just like, oh, it's over. Like, just the speed with which he went over. So it was that gap in not even a lap.
It was. I mean, we were directly across from the water jumping on the other side of the track, but it looked like a rocket taking off. It's like, okay, it's over. I was like into Kipruto. I'm like, oh, can he do it? I kind of forgotten briefly about El Bakkali. I was watching the Ethiopians and wanted to see if Goma could win it, and then I'm like, oh wait, what am I thinking? I mean, he used to always do that, just stay in the race, and then move away in the kick. But Kipruto also has a good kick, but. It's kind of weird. The slowest steeple. This is the kind of the thing that people are like, oh, why don't you push the pace? Why don't you do that? It almost doesn't matter. It's the same top three, regardless of whether they push the pace or not.
It's interesting. So maybe Goma gets some extra reputation points for this because his tradition is like he always gets out kicked, but he gets out kicked by the best guy in the world.
He's almost 2 seconds ahead of Kipruto there, so it's not like
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought Kipruto, this was a chance for him because if you were going to say how would I set the race up for Kipruto. This is exactly what I pick. He might be short of fitness, but he has that legendary kick that's won him Olympic and world titles in the past. So I thought, hey, if he's there at the bell, maybe he's a factor. But no, El Bakkali's kick, I don't think it's still not on the Kemboy Kipruto prime levels, but it's pretty damn good. And now he's back-to-back global titles, so pretty impressive stuff for him. And Jager gets sixth. I think we need to talk about that.
We have a great comment from Weldon Johnson in the comments section. I thought that with the race that slow, it was the easiest way for El Bakkali to lose, and he destroyed them. But he's got a really good kick. I mean, his kick is almost as good as Kipruto's, even back in the day. They used to wage some really tight battles, John, right? You got the photographic memory.
No, the tight battle they had was 2018 Diamond League Final when Kipruto had one shoe. Like, outside of that, when Kipruto won his world title by .01 in 2019. That was over Goma in second. It wasn't over El Bakkali. So when they've both been at their best, Kipruto's been the man.
But the top American, Evan Jager. I mean, we used to say that all the time. It wasn't a surprise. If he was sixth, 8 years ago, people would be upset. But this was, I thought, a very good result for him. Not his type of race. He beats Hillary Bohr. They both run 8:29, but you talked to him in the mix zone, John. What were his comments? I mean, Ross and I were talking about this on a run today. Folks, I did run 5 miles today. Pat me on the back. My only run all week, but hey, I did make a few excuses. Like, I'm not sure if this is the right turn, so let's stop and look at this map. But, Ross was saying, I like to, when I see y'all have interviews, I always click on the Jager interview. He's like very, sort of introspective and just thinking about things. And he talked to the print media for a long time because he came in there.
He talks to everyone for a long time.
He came in there.
He's very thoughtful. I'm not complaining about that.
Yeah, he came in there for like 5 minutes before the women's 1500 was going off, and sort of all the internet people were like, "We're not going to talk. We're going to make him watch the women's race." He didn't even get to us. The women's race was over, and he was still talking to the print people. But what was his mindset about, and what did he say about moving down to Eugene as a guy whose wife is expecting his first child in about 2 months?
Yeah, so it was interesting because Kyle Mova asked him, he's like, hey, you've been sixth at some of these things before. He was sixth at the 2012 Olympics. He was sixth in Beijing at the World Championships in 2015. And I think we were all expecting him to say, hey, this was a lot better. I didn't think I was going to do anything at the start of the year, and it was great. But that's not what he said. He said he kind of got carried away. He had seen all the American success, and after the prelims, he makes the final. He was starting to think, hey, I could do something special here, He was starting to think of a medal again. So to get sixth, he was a little bummed out. I think part of it had to do with his positioning. He was not in position. You freak out. You act as if positioning doesn't matter. You're saying 10th place in a steeple when you have to pass 9 guys to get up to the win isn't important at the bell. He didn't have that kick, but I'm just saying, say it doesn't make any. I said, were you thinking you were screwed at the bell because of where you were? And he's like, well, yeah, kind of. So He wasn't too hung up over that, though. I think he's just like, yeah, I was hoping for a little better, but he said, earlier this year, if you had told him he would finish 6th in the world, he definitely would have taken it. He wasn't even thinking he could make the final at Worlds until the prelims of USA's, which were like 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago, we were also amazed that he made the team and happy, so
yeah.
He had a great day.
Yeah, no, I think Evan Jager should be extremely proud of his season. This is a guy who opened up in 8:34 this year. He got blown away by some Japanese guy that no one's ever heard of.
Oh, did he run today?
He didn't even make the final, right, Robert? So we're thinking, oh, this is a disaster. I believe Robert wrote him off. Didn't you say, like, Jager's totally done?
No, I did not.
Or you were just saying you didn't care if he made the final?
Yeah, there was a lot of...
I said that he could make the team, but I thought he was done, certainly for this year, as a major player. I don't think I wrote him off permanently.
Okay.
There was a little, like, this won't move the needle talk.
I said I wouldn't be excited to see him try to finish, like, I probably said 6th in the final. But
here we are.
I was excited to watch him. I thought today it's kind of hard when you're watching in a big stadium, like not if you're not like on a perfect. In Tokyo, we could sit wherever we wanted. We basically had perfect seats because there's a lot to go on. Like who you're watching on TV. It's definitely one of the reasons. And the guy who owns this house, I said, "Why do you think the crowds are down?" He's like, "Well, the TV has gotten so good.
Yeah.
Do you want to pay?" Let's talk about that a little bit. Like, how much is a seat roster to each session?
I can't quite recall, but some of them, depending on where you were, over $100. Some on the other side of the track, like $50-$60. I mean, so they, especially near the finish line, they're pretty expensive. Talking hundreds.
But were you pumped to see Jager out there? And
yeah, 100%. I was actually really, like, as a fan, worried he would fall because they were packed so tight. Yeah. I'd come and see him around, and he was on the inside a lot. And so I would like look at him every time he came by, and he was like just going over those steeples, right? It's just like anybody can fall. Eventually, Bet did. It was him, right?
I think Bet fell at one point, and then the Ethiopian Amare on the last lap, it looked like on the back straight, something happened to him as well.
A lot of hands on runners' backs, like every time they come around, just like trying to keep each other's space. Did you guys talk to Bohr at all?
Robert did. What did he think? I mean, he made the final, which is an improvement from last year, but I can't think. I mean, 8th it's fine, but it's not sort of the breakthrough he was looking for, right?
He thought that the race would be fast, so he was kind of surprised it was so slow. He said with 450 meters to go, he felt really good, and he thought, I can do something. And then he said with 300 meters to go, he just...
Because we were at 350, he was tying up then, or he looked uncomfortable, so...
He wanted to know the splits. It would be interesting because I timed the last lap on my watch and I got 57.55. The previous lap was 61.05. So that would be 158.60 for the last 2 laps. Now that's a little bit less than 800. And this is kind of my problem. Sometimes Weldon says don't complain about everything. But World Athletics, on their website, and I tweeted this out, these are 100-meter splits. I guess it's liter to liter. And those don't match up with what I timed. So I assume these are actual 100-meter splits somehow. They know where the 100-meter mark is, even with the inside thing taking out. So I don't know if it's a chip that's doing it, but it's like they'll go to this and have this type of detail, but they're having trouble getting like the top 4 up on the scoreboard within 3 or 4 minutes. So I heard there was some human error and the guy deleted a file. So literally, at USA's, all the splits are popping up on the board instantly. Somehow someone wiped out in the year 2022 the entire file that's supposed to do the whole projection. But if you look at that, he wanted to know the last lap. The last lap, according to this, is 58.11, which isn't that fast. And the last 800 is 159.87, it looks like. So he said that, John, you could look this up maybe. Maybe I could try to, depending if I'm on the plane or not. But he's like, USA's, he thought it was Sacramento. He's like, it was an 8:18 race. He thought he closed in like 58. He's like, I can do that. So he was, a little bit disappointed. But his main takeaway was, if it's like an 8:15 to 8:20 race, that's in his wheelhouse. He's like, this was too slow for me. These are 3:31 guys. I can't run 3:31. So,
well, look,
think about it.
El Bakkali's going to beat him in any kind of race. El Bakkali's a 7:58 guy. He also has a much better kick than Hillary Bohr. He's not going to beat El Bakkali. And I think just like Gurma likewise showed tonight, like Hillary Bohr is just not as good as the best guys in the world. That's okay, but I don't think there's any solution he could have just sort of strategized his way to a win or a medal.
Yeah. I was trying to ask a lot of runners, like, it's July 18th, people. Let's get out and keep racing. Let's go to the Diamond League. And the women 1,500 meters from America were excited about that. And I think it's a mindset thing. Hillary, apparently, because they had a lot of Diamond Leagues already. He's like, oh, I'm already in the Diamond League final. So, but he's like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to do it. Like, he said it was like 50-50. I was like, what else?
Runners, come on. You're a professional runner. Why wouldn't you run the Diamond League final? Like, this is one of my things.
I want to give a shout out to Wesley. This guy's running while listening to the show on
At
YouTube.
1 a.m. in Miami. That's incredible. I mean, I guess Miami in the summer,
When are
maybe
you
this is
gonna run?
the best time to run when it's the middle of the night. But I'm impressed that he's listening to our podcast. And hopefully we're helping you get through it, Wesley. Jager, you did ask about what his thoughts were on Jerry Schumacher taking the Oregon job, so I think we should address that. And he tried to put on a very positive spin on it. He was basically like, look, I went with Jerry. He committed to Wisconsin. He ran 1 year at Wisconsin and then turned pro at basically age 19 when Jerry said he was leaving to take a job with Nike, and has entrusted his entire professional running life to Jerry Schumacher, and it's worked out very nicely for him. So he was like, I think this is a great job. Jerry got to work with me early, paid real dividends. I mean, he made the World Championship team in the 5K at age 20 in 2009. So Evan has had a lot of success, but also it's rare for an athlete to stay with Jerry for like 15 years or something. I think that's how Evan's been there 14 years. Like, you've seen some of the women, they'll be in the system. If they start slowing down towards the end of their career, they might want another option. But he was like, I think this is good. It gets more of our athletes working with Jerry earlier, and he has so much respect for him. So then when they get to BTC, they'll be better prepared to be world beaters. And so he essentially kind of viewed it as like Oregon track becoming a feeder program for Bauman, which I don't know if that's how high schoolers or how the University of Oregon will feed it, but he was also saying, look, Jerry's very dedicated. He's going to figure out a way to make this work. Yes, we might get slightly less attention now that he's got more mouths to feed, but he seemed, in terms of like how it's going to affect him professionally, he was very optimistic for the future of the sport. Professionally, he was like, yeah, it'll be fine. He needs to figure out, though, with his wife. He's like, look, we all just learned this last week. We're all sort of and we've got the World Championships this week. We kind of put it all on pause, and we have to figure out the real life stuff afterwards. So they'll have some time now to figure that out. He said his wife gets 6 months maternity leave, so they've got a little buffer built in to figure out when they're going to move, if they're going to move, how it's all going to work, that sort of thing.
I was saying, with as much time as they spend at altitude, they could just kind of rent places into various places. You could, if you wanted to be in Portland in the fall, you could rent a place there for 3 months, and then go to altitude for 3 months, and in the summer maybe in Eugene.
Well, what both he and Courtney Frerick said, though, is they're like, look, running's a lot better in Eugene than it is in Portland. Evan said that when they run in Portland, it's basically just they're running the Nike campus every day. Here you've got Priest Trail, you've got the Amazon Trail, you've got some other spots in town to run in as well. He was thinking training-wise it might be a little better in Eugene than Portland, and also you've got the Haywood Field. You've got the facilities there.
I forgot. Thank you.
Oh.
Folks, it's been I'm starting to get up. I'm starting to get a little bit old, and I haven't even gone to the Wild Duck, and I'm not going to step foot in that place my whole trip here. But it's been a brutal thing with these 6 a.m. marathons. I'm not used to that, USA's. So I do forget some things. Maybe it's old age, senility, but Stephen Walden has pointed out it's already been established that Rojo should coach Jager. What Schumacher does is irrelevant. I forgot about that. Did I say I was going to coach him? I offered.
Yeah, wait. You
that
should
was
be
your
viewing
campaign. I'm upset I forgot this. I'm like,
Well,
take chronicler.
Why? I forgot why.
You just said he's injured. He's not medaling anymore. Like,
Yeah.
clearly he's
You're like, I
shit in the
coached
bed.
a guy to run 8:45. I'm obviously more qualified than Jerry.
Yeah, I think that was his case for starting coaching women's steeplers. He's like, I've coached him to run the women's world record, so I should be coaching women's steeplers. But yeah, Robert will probably view this as a failure. Jager yet again fails to medal in a global championship. Even though he did win 2 medals under Jerry, but this is
bad though, because it's
proof
just
for you,
it's
right?
good enough that Evan's going to stick with him. Instead of getting
your whole theory was Evan has medaled, but he hasn't won. And if he wants to win, he needs to abandon Schumacher and go with you.
Why is it the steeple just brings out all your wildest just ideas? It's like Jakob's got to run the steeple.
He came up as a steepler, right? How crazy is that? Carson Warholm, the decathlete, and Jakob Ingebrigtsen, the steeplechaser.
Well, no, Jakob, that's revisionist history to call him a steeplechaser. He ran the steeple in 2017 because it was the easiest way to qualify for the World Championships. He was not a steepler. He was running the steeple to run at Worlds.
That's true of many a steepler.
Yeah, that happens. Kyle Merber did this as a freshman at Columbia. He ran the steeple to qualify for the regional meet, even though everyone knew he wasn't a steepler. Like this, some people they end up sticking in the steeple, but a lot of times it's just, oh, what's the easiest way I can get on the conference team, or I can make the NCAA meet? It's going to the steeple.
All right, other events tonight. The high jump was fun to watch where we were sitting.
Very fun.
So that was cool. They did not split the gold medal this time, thankfully. We actually had a real winner. Barshim of Qatar, right?
Qatar. He's actually from Qatar, I believe.
He's
is not like Steven Chirono / Shaheen.
I think he's like the only athlete on their entire team.
I looked it up. I was like, where's he originally from one day? I was like, oh, he's from... Okay.
That's what I thought.
All
Like,
right.
because even their hurdler, Abdurrahman Samba, I think he was from Mauritius, and he lived in Nigeria or something like that, or Saudi Arabia. Like, he's not originally from Qatar, and yeah, but Barshim actually is. So he's now the Olympic champ, and is this his third straight world title, I believe? He's really getting up there in terms of global honors. So impressive stuff by him. I didn't get to see much of this competition, but oh wow, we had a Korean record. Sang-Hyuk Woo, the world indoor champion, Robert, tied the Korean record, 2:35. I'm shocked you didn't interview him in the mixed zone. And Ukraine, nice story there.
Yeah.
Bronze medal, Andriy Protsenko. So something for them to cheer about.
Yeah, that was great. It was a little disappointing to see, Tamberi not go further because he's so fun to watch. But it was also cool just like in person seeing how gracious he was to all the other people who beat him and everything. Like he was genuinely thrilled for them. So, yeah, high jump was awesome.
Have you ever considered shaving and getting the half beard, Ross, to root on Tamberi?
That's a great question.
You'd lose your professor look, though, that Weldon has bestowed
Not
upon
many
you.
professors have a half beard.
Yeah, what entertainers. I mean, they really do a cool job for the sport. That was fun. Triple jump, I assume Rojas won?
Yeah, world leader. I mean, at this point, anything like 50. At this point, if she's not getting a world record, it's not. I mean, I don't watch that much of the women's triple jump to begin with, to be honest. And 15.47, she crushed everyone.
But she's fun to watch too. Like she's into
yeah.
it. When
No,
she
she
was
is.
fouling, she was very upset. I
Yeah.
think she had a big jump, or I don't know. She just didn't.
She has genuine charisma
Yes.
that you can feel like in the stadium.
Yeah.
Like you see her like getting ready, like getting focused, yelling, and then her reactions. She is very compelling in person.
All right, women's 200 and men's 200 heats were the other track action really that we're going to talk about. Then we'll talk about women's marathon. I got to get to the airport. Sherika Jackson did make the out of the first round. Didn't she go out in the first round last year? That was devastating to me. She actually showed up. The three Jamaicans get out.
Robert, there's one storyline that's staring me in the face from these prelims, and I assume you're going to pick up on this, but it's Aminat Husseini.
I didn't realize. I was going to say there was an obscure national record, and then I thought, oh no.
Yeah.
We saw this last year. Christine Mboma,
Yeah.
she runs
Do we know-
super fast.
Do we know who this athlete is even?
Aminat Husseini, yes, she's run like 48 for 400. She's DSD. This is why she's gone down to the 200. She ran 21.98 in the first round, and now I'm thinking she could do what Mboma did last year and end up on the podium and show again how this rule probably needs to be expanded to other events. But that to me is the storyline. 21.98 in the first round. That she keeps improving. The potential she's showing here, she could get on the podium.
I think I'm going to change my tune to all this. I'm going to become very woke. Like I could have coached Ross to Olympic gold.
Wow. Okay, we need to cut you off from the beer fridge.
I've been drinking Coke.
You're going to make me regret coming on this, man.
Anyways,
Also, Beatrice Maslingi from Namibia, she had the sixth fastest time, 22:27. She's also DSD. So 1/3 of the top 6 qualifiers today, DSD athletes.
Collecting evidence. this event.
Yeah, Abby Steiner looked good. For the men, though, this is the one we're going to be watching on the final. Well, I guess with the Jamaicans, and that'll be Abby Steiner will be a fun women's final too. But I just can't wait for Lyles versus Knighton. What did you guys think? They both run very similar times, although Lyles runs 1998 into a headwind. Knighton had a legal tailwind, 2.1, 20.01. Fred Curley, much slower, 20.17, but they all won their heats. What did you guys think of those? Edge here. Well, I guess curious, Ross, who do you think is going to win coming in? Because
I think I'd go with Knighton. But it's interesting. So, of course, they're in separate heats. And let's go. Disclaimer, like, I'm a distance, like, super nerd, like many of the viewers, not a sprint expert. However, it was interesting watching them run separately, where it was like what stood out to me about each of their races was kind of a mirror of how the USATF race played out, where like the speed with which Knighton came through the turn was like astonishing. Like, and he was one of the early heats. No one looked as fast as he did on the turn. Like, it was just like he didn't have like a great start. I mean, I guess we can confirm it with the numbers here. It didn't seem like he had a great start, but it was just like, but then Lyles, average start or whatever, but he looked so solid coming down the straightaway in terms of just like strong, just like gliding until he did his like dinosaur stomp thing or whatever he was doing, which was a new one for me. Very fun. But I don't know. It does make me think we could see again something like USA's where it's Lyles trying to run down Knighton, which would be extremely exciting.
Yeah, well, that's what it's going to be, because Knighton's a great bend runner and Lyles is a great at maintaining his top speed at the end. So the question is, is Knighton going to be able to build up a big enough gap, or is he going to be able to close hard enough to hold him off? But it was interesting. Like, Lyles ran a little faster. He also had a .03 headwind, whereas Knighton had a plus 2.1 tailwind. So you factor that in. But also, Knighton, I thought, looked the best of anyone because he just ran like 100 meters. Like, he was shutting it down early in the home straight, just looking very relaxed. So, I don't know. We're not going to get a true read on both these guys until the final. I think they're head and shoulders about pretty much everyone else. I was pretty impressed by Jareem Richards. I thought he
did look very good.
He looked comfortable. Look, he only ran 20.35, which is not, that was the 17th fastest time.
I think he was in inner lane, though. He looked really comfortable.
And he ran 19.8 at the Trinidad Championships in, like, a rainstorm, shitty conditions. So he's someone who could factor in the mix. But then you got Fred Curley, you've got Joseph Farnbuller, the NCAA champion. So this is going to be a really terrific race. I do think Lyles and Knighton are still on a different level from everyone else, though.
I agree.
All right, women's marathon. Don't have much time. Super fast. And again, what did I learn from being here? When I was walking from the shuttle drop-off to this house where we're staying, it's about a mile, on, when was that, Thursday night or Friday night? When I got here, I was like, it's pretty chilly. This weather's going to be perfect for the marathon. I'm like, John, what are the course championship records? Those things are going to go down, and they did.
You nailed it, Robert. Yeah, this one. And the previous one, the men's one, they broke it by a little bit. This one, they totally destroyed it. The previous record was 2:20.57 by Paula Radcliffe from 2005 in Helsinki. Today, Goditom Ghebreselassie ran 2:18.11. So the top four women actually all broke the previous championship record, and the top two were 2:18.20 and 2:18.11 and 2:18.20. So super fast race up front, and part of the reason for that was Ruth Chepengedic, who was the defending champion. She ran 2:17 in Nagoya earlier this year. Was it 2:16 maybe? It was something very fast. She won Chicago last year. She was pushing the pace. That's what she usually does. I think they were like they were super fast, like 16:10 or something through 5K. And then she gets some stomach problems and winds up dropping out at 19K. But she's already set things in motion. The leaders hit halfway in 69:01. And at that point, it was about who can hang on. Well, Ghebreselassie and Korir both were able to hang on. Some of the Ethiopians fell out. Ababel Yeshina, late in the race, was in bronze medal position. Then she gets caught by Lona Salpata, who's the eventual bronze medalist, and Nazret Weldu of Eritrea. and just as soon as she's out of the medals, she steps off the course, which I thought was like, that's all right. That's one way to run the marathon, I guess. Maybe she's wants to save herself for the full marathon season. So that was interesting. And then obviously you had the Americans, Sarah Hall in 5th place, 2:22.10. Emma Bates, 2:23.18. That was a PB for her in 7th by about a minute. And Kira D'Amato, 8th and 2:23.34. They were all together halfway. They kind of hung back early, worked together for a bit, and then Hall kind of took off and tried
Well, I don't think, hung back. I mean, how many times have Americans gone out in 70 minutes?
Well, yeah, they
Particularly at Worlds. These women were super impressive. Like, I was super impressed by them. I mean,
yeah.
Sarah Hall is how old? Emma Bates is, Kira D'Amato.
Kira D'Amato is 37. Sarah Hall is 39.
Just amazing. Absolutely amazing. And then Bates gets the PB. She's saying, I think this is the direction. But I talked to Kira D'Amato, so let's talk about her. I mean, there was like other women coming up to her in the mix zone that ran the race. I was like, you're my inspiration, because she quit the sport for 7 years. She's got all these kids. She's still got a job, and she's just crushing it. She gets named to the team. American record holder this year is not on the team. She gets named to the team 2 weeks ago, and still she showed no fear. She's like, I figured I might as well try to medal. She went out ahead. Sarah Hall and Bates decided to work together. She goes out ahead of them. They just happen to be halfway together. And, she's like, I could feel it, like, on the last loop. I wish, I had been doing marathon training. I asked her, like, well, how often do you do long runs? She's like, probably once a month, even if I'm not training. But normally, if I'm just training for the 10K, I'll just do, like, 20 milers just for distance, not fast. There's no pace involved. She said, so instead of doing Peachtree, she ran a 22-miler. And then she's going to see how she recovers from this before doing, another fall marathon. But as a parent, I think when you have kids, everything changes. I was like, well, did you have support? She's like, yeah, my kids were there. And Jay Holder, the Atlanta Truck Club's like, yeah, I saw her kids give her a high five. And that must have just been really cool. I mean, her kids are old enough to, remember everything. Yeah. So that was, she always wanted to represent Team USA, and she got to do it, 8th place. And that's the worst American, 2:23.34. So I know the super shoes have changed the game, but really good performance. Emma Bates, over a minute PB. She's like, I think I can run 2:20. This weather wasn't perfect. And it was kind of interesting. She was like, the pace isn't even. It's a 5:11. It's a 5:20. So, she's like, I think if I get in a fall race that's more even, I can run fast.
I can see a big PB coming for her, because remember, she said she had COVID earlier this year, and it was kind of long COVID. Like, she was struggling to get into workouts, and only recently her training sort of turned a corner. She said she had some great training in the weeks leading up to this, but her winter and spring was not great. So I think if she can build on that and she gets in a flat, fast course, which it sounds like she's going to try to do, so that maybe means Chicago, where her previous PB was, or she was second last year, so I bet she's going back to Chicago.
I assume
she might be able to knock off another couple of minutes from that personal best.
Yeah, they try not to say where they're going sometimes, but she said I want to run a quick one. So I don't think you say quick one when you're going to New York. So I was like, well, and why would she go to Berlin over Chicago or London? I guess she could do, but
if you were second, no woman's land. That's like it's hard for her.
But yeah, and the winner, Gautam Gebrselassie, she's really doing well. She debuted and won a watered down Berlin last year, but now wins this.
She was third in Tokyo. She ran 2:18 in Tokyo earlier this year.
2:20, 2:18, 2:18.
Two 2:18s within the span of 4 months. So it's weird. She's not super young. I think she's 25 or 26. So she took a little while to debut, but clearly she's made for the marathon, and I think she can continue to be in this spot for a couple of years maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking the other day, who's the guy that got popped, John, for the drugs?
Lawrence Chirono.
When you come, she's not that old. When you come onto the scene at like 27, it kind of makes me suspicious. Like, what have you been? Yeah, like, what have you been doing for all these years?
Yeah, Kometo is definitely one that I've had some
Toronto's
question marks about in the mix zone.
Toronto's 33. I guess he ran 2.
But Toronto's been running marathons for a long time. Like, again, I don't want to speculate about all these things.
But here, let's. It's easy to complain.
Give the progression. Let's go. Here we go.
It doesn't show up until it stops to 2014, so he would have been 25, going on 26. So, okay, 209. He wins. No, 210. 209, 212, 214, 212. Now he's racing a lot. So maybe, you don't have much money. You find out you're good at running at 25. You might just be trying to pick up paychecks. I mean, 4 marathons within 53 weeks when he starts off. 210, 209, 212, 214. And then next year, 212, 207, 211, 209. So 4 marathons, including one of
So
those.
there's that one big jump.
Honolulu.
212 to 207.
And then he goes 206. And then ever since 2017, he's been pretty good. 206, 205, 208, 209, 204, 205, 207, 203. He runs the last, whatever. Who knows? Let's not speculate too much. But, the runner-up here, Judith's career, she won Paris in just over time. It was a little bit slower than D'Amato's. I think it was 219. Now she runs 218. Really good for her run for her. And then the one person I picked in the is it Koros? Is that the right way to say it, John?
That's correct. I
Koros
believe so.
prediction contest. Thank you for sponsoring it. I picked Salvatore for the bronze because remember she was ahead of Molly Seidel in the Olympics, and then really cratered in the last bit. I was like, she always shows up.
Well, she cratered. Do you know why she cratered?
I don't want to get into that, John.
She mentioned it. She had a period. She had menstrual cramps.
She has something that a transgender or an intersex woman will never have.
All right.
And
you always find a way to shoehorn that in, don't you?
Well, I'm just saying it's an obvious fact, and I don't understand why people don't ever ask them that. Anyways, but I was like, she can't just keep showing up. She's going to eventually medal, and she did. She was smart. She didn't go with the ridiculous, totally fast, easy pace. But good race for Team USA, 5, 7, and 8.
Well, all right, wait. I have a little bit of a take here.
Ooh.
But look at the results. Who did these women actually beat? Now, look, some of the Ethiopians and Kenyans dropped out. 2 of the 3 Ethiopians, Ashep Bekera,
Ruth Chepngetich, that's who.
Yashana, Ruth Chepngetich, they all dropped out. Okay? So Sarah Hall beat Angela Tnui, who's a 217 woman. That's a good scalp. And all 3 of them, Hall, Bates, and D'Amato, beat Mizuki Matsuda, who ran 220 to win Osaka earlier this year. But look at the names behind them. Do you guys even recognize these? Citali Moscote of Mexico, Dashun Zhang of China, Jess Piasecki of Great Britain. Okay, she's actually pretty fast. I think she's number 2 all time among Brits. But, among Brits, she's pretty good. But Leslie Sexton of Canada, Sarah Klein of Australia. Look, this was a pretty solid effort by the Americans, but this was also a race that only had 32 finishes. It was a pretty small World Championship marathon.
What? I don't understand.
I'm trying to say, who did they beat?
I'm always calling John, and Ross says he enjoys it. I'm calling out the hidden sexism of John. When an American dude gets 7th at Boston, John acts like they won the freaking Super Bowl. An American woman gets 5th in the world, and John's like, who did they really beat? Who did you really beat when you get 7th in Boston? Half the field dropped out. There's only 20 elite.
Well, that seems to be what he's saying, that this is kind of like a Chicago type field where they're...
I agree.
No, I'm saying, but like Scott Fauble in Boston, I don't want to throw him under the bus. I would need to see exactly who he beat. He beat Jeffrey Kamworor. Like, there was a lot of guys in there. That was a pretty deep Boston field this year. He beat some pretty decent guys. So I'm just saying, look, they ran good races. They should be proud of the races they ran. But I also think that saying 5, 7, 8 in a World Championship marathon when East Africans are limited to 3 or 4 athletes per country, and you had 2 Ethiopians and the best Kenyan drop out. I'm just saying,
like Evan Jagers, they're a long way from medaling, but I still think.
Yeah, no, certainly performance is worthy of praise. I'm just trying to place this in context, Robert. I'm surprised you're taking so much offense to this. Am I out of line here, Ross?
No, I get it. A little Debbie Downer, but I get it. It's your job to put things in perspective.
All right, guys, we got 4 minutes. I'm cutting the show off at 10:30 because I need to be at the airport and leave. Ross, as a fan, you've never been to Eugene before.
I've never been to Eugene.
You've never been to a Worlds before.
That's right.
Have you ever paid to go to a track meet before? A professional track meet before?
There's probably some time when I wasn't good enough to make the Heps bus and had to pay to watch my friends. Basically, no. This is a first.
So has it been fun? Do you feel like there's too much dead time? What's your experience?
So yeah, okay. So first off, it's been awesome. Stadium, I would give very high marks. It's really great. Doesn't seem to be a bad view. Seats are very comfortable. Is there too much dead time? Absolutely. That's hardly unique to this meet. It's one of my big problems with the sport. That issue is actually better in person than it is on TV. Because it's much clearer where things stand with the field events. So watching the field events, you actually get to follow them more closely. There's always something going on usually. Like tonight was pretty field event heavy, but there's something all the time. I think they've done a really good job in terms of staging the meet. Like, it's been easy to get in and out of the stadium. Haven't had any problems. There's smatterings of empty seats. There's that like section that's bizarrely roped off at the top and just has this whole empty section. That's frustrating. But I would give the meet very, very high marks. Races have been super entertaining. Got the 1500 tomorrow. Very exciting. So.
Oh yeah, I mean tomorrow's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Is there anything else apart? I mean, even if it was a 2-race session of just the 1500 and the 400 hurdles, it would be fantastic. All right, we've got men's discus final, women's high jump final, women's 400 heats, so people get to see 400 hurdles. They get to see Sydney McLaughlin. Women's 200 semis. Oh, men's 200 semis. So you get a little bit more Lyles Knighton tomorrow night.
Yeah.
It'll be good. It could be a huge night for Norway because they won the
Norwegian
1500
guys.
400 hurdles last year at the Olympics.
The Norwegian guys were in the house yesterday. They were very excited, looking for 2 golds.
Yeah. Last night when I got home, and by the way, the more this meet goes on, the more I think fake Josh Kerr might be the real Josh Kerr. He hasn't been calling in. He hasn't been posting. But I saw Josh Kerr plus 2,000 in the men's 1500. I was like, I should wake Jonathan up. I think this means like it's 20 to 1. We should put $100 on. But I didn't want to bet it because I didn't want to have to root for him. Kind of an Ingebrigtsen fan. He's a fan of the podcast, or he's at least watched the podcast. All publicity is good publicity. And I just can't wait for this race. It's going to suck that I'm going to miss it in person. But who do you guys think is going to win it? I mean, I think this is the best. If all events in the sport were like the 1500, the sport would be way more popular because you've got tactics involved. It doesn't. The 8 and the 15 are really the only ones where tactics make a huge, huge difference. Although I guess the men's steeple today didn't even matter. They're still the same people won, even though it was slow. But this is just fascinating. I mean, we thought Ingebrigtsen would win indoors. He didn't. I'm starting to think he's a little bit vulnerable if it's a slow race. He said it was going to go slow yesterday. I kind of think. But would Stewie McSwain really let it go slow? If Stewie McSwain just takes it out, John and I think if it goes like 57 or 58 for the first lap, that'll be good. Then he can just kind of squeeze it down from there.
Yeah. No, I've agreed with your guys' analysis.
But if it's windy like today, it's been pretty windy.
I don't know. It's hard to tell on the track because I know like.
Well, it
could have been that windy. Faith Kipyegon ran 352. But anyway. I don't know. I personally believe Jakob's going to win. Like, if I think back on just watching all the races this year, like the 1500 that stands out to me most, well, it was a pre where, it's a mile, right? But where basically he just like effortlessly opened that gap on the last lap and was just kind of like, where are you guys? And then just didn't have to go any further. I just feel like he's got a lot in the tank. I know maybe he gets out kicked, but I think he's good enough that he's not going to let that happen. And then like, Chariot's been sitting in the pack in the heats. Is he really going to run that way, do you think, in the final? What do you think?
I don't know. I think he's less likely to do it than in previous years because I was talking to his agent.
What did he do in the prelims? Did he sit?
I don't know. Robert's obsessed with like what he did in the prelims. I'm more concerned about what he did in the final, which is go to the front. But I talked to his agent, and he's like, yeah, actually, Tim's in a good spot because the target's not on his back. Last year in the Olympics, everyone was expecting Tim to make the race. It's all on him. This year, people are looking at Jakob. It's not on Chariot. I don't think Chariot's really going to do much in this race. His results haven't been, it's not like he's been running poorly, but his results haven't been on par with what they were in previous years. But it's really interesting because Jakob's just so freaking fit. Like, he might be in 327 shape or 326 shape right now. But Josh Kerr also thinks he's in 327 shape. So I do think if Ingebrigtsen is leading a lot of this, I wouldn't be shocked if Kerr just goes with him, sits on him, and tries to pull by in the very end of the race. So I think going into this meet, I thought Kipsang had the best chance of upsetting him. Kipsang's looked fine in these prelims, and so
Agreed.
he might have a shot. But I don't know. Maybe it's just I'm drawn to the cockiness. Jakob Ingebrigtsen, he's pretty confident and cocky. Josh Kerr, definitely confident and cocky. They both feel really good, but only one of them can come out on top. I think you have to go Ingebrigtsen. He's clearly the favorite, but
going into this meet, like in terms of how the season had gone, like Jakob and Kerr were like not on the same level.
Oh,
in
not
terms
at
of
all.
how the season gone.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like we run risk of overreacting to just kind of like two prelims, like.
But what Kerr told me, I said, I'm like, hey, you've looked great at this meet, but you barely even made the British team. It was like 300ths or something.
What, so he turned it around in 3 weeks?
Can you let the guy answer? I asked him the question. Yeah, he got these sweet gold sunglasses and suddenly an air conditioner from Brooks, and suddenly he's unbeatable. No, his explanation was, look, that was a totally different kind of race than what you're going to see at Worlds. British trials, you're running the prelim at 7 p.m. one night, and then the finals at 3:30 the next day. It was super windy. You have to be able to run like 144 for the 800, and I wasn't ready to do that at that point. I was peaking for this meet right here. I was, I had to make the British trials with the fitness he had. He was all worried about this race, and he's like, are you going to have to be a 144 guy in the final? Well, if it goes fast and he's a 327 guy and he's got a rabbit, if Ingebrigtsen's going to rabbit him for most of the race, maybe he can pull by and go past him at the end. So that was his explanation. It kind of made sense for me. And Josh Kerr, I counted him out before the meet because he barely made the British team, but he got a bronze medal at the Olympics last year. He's proven he can do it on the big stage. So, yeah, look, you got to pick Ingebrigtsen, but I wouldn't be shocked if Kerr pulls the upset.
I don't know. I think Jakob will win.
What's Kerr's 800-meter PB?
That's pretty good, isn't it?
Robert, you're just so obsessed with all that stuff. I mean, he did run this.
I'm with Robert here.
He ran this sick time trial last year before the Olympics, though, wasn't it? Like,
yeah, that's true. It's like
55, 50.
Yeah.
Like he ran a 50-second lap. Yes. Like that was why I was like, oh, he's gonna win the Olympics, and he didn't do that. But that to me showed that he's got plenty of speed, even if regardless of what his open 800 PB is.
We'll see.
Can we give some credit, though, to Ingebrigtsen? I mean, the guy races all the time. Goes to World Indoors. The more I think about it, I just don't think that...
Can we give him some credit? We're all like, is there any way he doesn't win or whatever? And like, we love you for listening to the podcast. I'm
afraid he's going to lose. Kerr's run 145.35, whereas Ingebrigtsen's PB...
Who cares? Who gives a shit about Jakob Ingebrigtsen?
Okay, so we've talked about who has a chance to win. Obviously, Jakob, Kerr... Like we kind of said, Kip saying you don't seem too high in Chariot based on how he's looked all year. Like who do you like? Are there other people legitimately?
I think there are 3 guys. Maybe
there's a guy I picked in the Chorus prediction contest.
Jake Whiteman.
I picked Jake Whiteman.
I think Jake Whiteman is the 4th guy.
God, this is why we have the same score.
So yeah, I think those are the 4 guys with the shot at winning. It's the 2 Brits, Whiteman and Kerr.
Yeah,
and
Whiteman
Kip
has
saying.
Good.
Yeah, Whiteman, he's kind of flying under the radar. He was in the easy heat yesterday.
But he's just doing what he needs to do.
Exactly. So he did bomb the Olympic final last year, so we'll see if those changes. But he looked fantastic at the British trials. He's a fast 800 runner, which Robert will love. He's run like 144.
Whoa, it's kind of weird. We think Chariot has to lead from the front. Do you guys realize what his 800-meter PB is?
Oh, he's run like 143.1,
143.11.
Yeah.
Why does he lead it? The guy's... Hey,
unlike
him saying he's lightly raised. Lightly raised.
Okay, hold on. No, I'm gonna break this down even further. What's his 400 PB? Because he can run 143 like even splits. Like
you're right. Robert is saying.
Can he run like 46? Probably not.
Robert's theory is the guy with the fastest. Also, I'm fighting through an incredible cramp in my hamstring right now, so I'm playing hard right now.
But it's not.
No, your theory is the guy with the fastest 800 PB must be the best kicker. That is not how the sport works.
I've never thought that. I hate when the marathon...
it comes across that way in the podcast.
I hate when Tim Hutchings says, who's got the best track speed in the marathon? It has nothing to do with it. Who's got the best endurance? Ingebrigtsen's got the best endurance in this field, without a doubt.
Yes, no doubt.
So, I was thinking there aren't that many big kickers. I don't think necessarily Chariot's... Well, we've never seen him run. Has anyone ever seen him run like a super tactical race and try to blast it? So it's just going to be fascinating. I can't wait. I think Ingebrigtsen's the favorite for a reason. We'll have to leave it at that. All right, guys. I'm going to miss my flight. I cannot afford to miss this flight. We'll see you later, Ross. Great seeing you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Total thrill.
If you join the Supporters Club and you run more,
this could be you.
This could be you.
Exactly.
This could be you.
I'm just glad Robert called it the Supporters Club tonight instead of the Sporting Club, because we don't want our Supporters Club members to be confused.
I was giving you a hard time, John, because I said Kerr turned it around in 3 weeks. He did. He turned it around in about 3 days in Tokyo because we thought he was looking good going into Tokyo. He sneaks into out of the first round on time and then wins it. I think he's kind of a guy that thrives on the moment, and I just love how this has been promoted as a prize fight. It's going to be amazing. And then right after it, 400 hurdles. Benjamin.
Dos Santos.
Oh God,
gonna
that's
be
going to
great.
be unreal. I mean, I feel like Warholm will probably win that or pull a muscle.
That's the
You're
question.
probably right. He looked good the other day.
He's been running at 80 or 90% of these prelims, but we don't know how his body's going to respond when he goes.
Well, our
100%.
Norwegian sources who were at the house yesterday said they're like they've never heard him more kind of tempered going into a meet. They're like always in the past it'd be like I'm gonna win, I'm gonna kill everybody or whatever, and they're like, well yeah, I'm feeling good, I'll do my best.
I think he
We'll see.
legitimately doesn't know because he said his last trial before Worlds, he went 5 hurdles all out in Berkeley, California, which is where their pre-meet camp was. That was to see if he could run. He's like, all right, that went fine, but he doesn't know what it's going to be. He only knows one way to race in these finals, which is all out, and he doesn't know how his body's going to hold up to an all-out race, which is what he's going to need to be because Alisson dos Santos has run 46 this year. Ryan Benjamin's run 47.04. It's going to take a time, probably in the mid to low 46s, to win this race. That's going to be close to 100% for Karsten Warholm. Is his body going to be able to hold up and deliver that?
We'll find out tomorrow. Oh, by the way, under the grass, he did not start the 200
Yeah,
today.
hold on.
Talk to you later. Bye bye.